Welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast where we are gathering and sharing the very best ideas for spiritually based business success, and where we are gathering a community of wise and loving mutual support. By the way, if you haven't yet checked out our community, you can go to www.ourhighestwork.com and click on the link that says community. So my name is George Cow, and in today's episode, I'm going to share with you a mind map that I've been working hard on called How to Make Your Content More Engaging. I actually created a mind map a couple of months ago, and just this week I spent about about 3 hours, I guess, which is a bit more time than I'd spent in preparing most episodes, updating the mind map and making it look a little bit better, and I'm excited to share that with you now. So, as always, I'd like to start with a quote. And the quote today is by Mahatma Gandhi. What's one of the favorite folks I like to quote in this podcast. And he says, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And that quote is so meaningful, but it's especially meaningful for today's episode because when we lose ourselves in the service of others, we actually figure out how to create the most engaging content. What I mean is this. And by the way, later on I am going to pull up the mind map so you can watch the video and be looking at how I'm navigating the mind map at the same time. So the mind map link will be located below or in the episode notes page. But anyway, so as I was saying, that when we are willing to lose ourselves in the service of others, when we're willing to fully give ourselves to noticing, observing what our ideal audience needs most, especially that we're qualified to give them. So what our ideal audience needs most from us. What do they love? What are their values? What questions do they have? What problems are nagging at them? What bothers them? And then we create content to help make their lives easier, make their lives better, to uplift them because we know them. That makes our content super engaging. So the best way to, Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So I would say the best way to create content is to fully devote yourself to understanding your ideal audience and then creating content from that understanding. Now, I do also have to say that it is a dance, right? It's not that we spend 10 years understanding our ideal audience and then finally start creating content. It's that, you maybe spend 30 to 50% of your time noticing, observing what your ideal audience is asking about, what they are loving, what they're liking, what they're commenting, what seems to bother them, what seems to light them up. And then you spend 50 to 70, maybe 80% of the time curating and creating content, which I'll explain what content is later. But you spend most of your time actually creating content, and as you share, you're going to then observe what lights them up based on what you just shared. Okay? So without further ado, let me go and actually check out the comments. Well, I invite you actually to comment on this episode if you are live with me. As you know, I always love to see that you're here with me. So if you want to join, if those of you who are watching live, I welcome you to comment below and let me know that you are here with me. And of course, as I go through the content, any questions you have, go ahead and post that, and I'll try to check occasionally as I'm recording this so I can answer any questions in real time. Those of you who want to comment later, I always appreciate that as well. And you can find the comments thread at ourhighestwork.com. So www.ourhighestwork.com/20. This is episode 20. And I know some of you are, while you're watching this, you're not able to comment, and that's okay. You know, I don't want the commenting to take away from your learning. But I do hope that you'll try, if you're going to take notes anyway, I hope you'll try it, experiment with taking notes directly in the comments area, because it really encourages me to see your comments come through. It inspires me, makes me feel like I'm actually connecting with people rather than just looking at this tiny little camera in my computer and talking to myself, right? So it encourages me, and I'm sure it helps other people out to see what you are learning. Because everything you comment is your way of learning the material, and it's going to add color, it's going to add texture to other people's learning. So thank you for doing that if you'd like to experiment. Barbara Freeman just commented that she's here. Thank you, Barbara, for being so supportive. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and share with you the slide, or the mind map. So here we go. Give me just a moment. And those of you who are just listening to this, I know most of you are listening only. And don't worry, you will, if you go to ourhighestwork.com/20 and go to our video pages, basically there is the link to the mind map, and you can check that out later. But I will do my best to share, you know, everything I am seeing vocally, so that you can still follow along. Okay, all right. So first, I want to say that this mind map, at the first glance, may seem overwhelming, but we're going to take it step by step so that you can learn this. And the first thing I want to show you is how to navigate the mind map. So you can just click anywhere on the mind map and move it. So click your mouse and then drag your mouse, and you can move the mind map by doing that. And you can expand the mind map's font by noticing that on the upper left of the mind map there's a plus and minus right on the upper left here. If you click on plus, which I'm doing right now, that will expand the font, you see. So I'm doing that now so that it's a little easier for you to see. And those of you who are live, comment and let me know if that's large enough font. Okay. And I'm going to take a quick peek at the comments thread. And Victoria Del Harris is here as well, so thank you so much. Okay, so let's couple of things about the mind map. First of all, what is content? If I'm talking about making content more interesting and engaging, well, what is content? So content is any time you are posting on social media, when you're updating your status on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Google Plus or Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, when you're posting articles, okay? When you're writing an article, when you're writing a blog, that's content. When you're recording a webinar, when you're doing Google Hangout, that's content. When you're recording a podcast episode, that's content. And of course, when you're writing a book or an ebook, that of course is content. And if you are teaching someone something, if you're teaching in person, doing a workshop, a seminar, that is content. Of teaching a class, of course, that's content. And I would also say that just whenever you are talking to a friend or a family member or a colleague and you're trying to explain something, you're trying to perhaps give them an important piece of information, more than just, hey, will you go pick up, pick up some fruit when you're at the store, you know? But when you're giving some longer piece of information, that's content too. So if you learn how to make more engaging content, okay, you will be a better friend, a better teacher, a better coach, a better speaker, a better mentor, better author, a better marketer, a better parent, okay? And also, for those of you who are using content for marketing, the more engaging your content is, the more traffic it's going to get. So I should show you, by the way to navigate this mind map. I've already showed you how to move around by clicking and then dragging your mouse to move around. But also notice that you see pluses at the end of certain concepts. You simply click the pluses to expand the concept, okay? And right now I'm just going to, and you can also click minuses to collapse the content, the concept. So that way you'll be able to make the content more digestible for you, okay? So why is it that more engaging content will get more traffic? You know why? Because if your content is more engaging, people will naturally want to share it forward. Okay? And as people share it forward, search engines will pick up the fact that people are linking to your content. People are putting it on their website, people are sharing it on social media, and that will bump up your content towards the top of the search engine ranking, so that when people are searching for the keywords, searching for words or phrases that happen to be in your content, you'll be more likely to be on the first page of the Google results. Okay? And also, when you share engaging content on social media, you will tend to get likes or comments on your content. And every single like and every single comment will bump up your content in the social media newsfeed so that more people will see it. Isn't that wonderful? All right, so now let me move on to this very important point, that there are dozens of ideas in this mind map. And by the way, I'm not going to go through every single idea in this mind map. That would take way too long. What I am going to go through is just, most importantly, I wanted to show you how to navigate the mind map. And of course, I'm going to go through some of the most important concepts that I think are the most important. And my point here is not for you to think, oh my gosh, so I'm supposed, George, are you telling me that I'm supposed to integrate every single idea into everything I do from now on in my content? No. This mind map is to give you ideas, give you to spark your imagination, and to help you better understand what will get traction in the world. And so the idea here is to go through this mind map and find whatever idea sparks your interest, and then start to use that concept more and more in your content sharing. Does that make sense? So there are dozens of ideas here. 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 10 of the ideas will get you energized. Use those 1, 2, or 10 ideas next time you're sharing content. Now, not every piece of content you share is going to integrate let's say you find 10 ideas in this mind map that energize you. Well, not every piece of content you share should integrate all 10 of those factors. All I'm saying is, okay, the shorter your content, so if you're just posting a photo on Facebook, you don't have to worry so much about all these pieces of things. But if you're writing an article, if it's longer content, then yes, you do need to integrate as many of these ideas as energize you as possible, because the longer the content, the more likely you're going to lose someone. Am I making sense? If you are writing a long article and you don't, in the first couple of paragraphs, you don't use one of these factors to engage your audience, you're going to lose them. They're not going to keep going. Even the title itself should be considering the things I'm talking about in this mind map. Does that make sense? If you're recording a long podcast episode, you got to factor in several of these characteristics that are shared with you on this mind map. Does that make sense? If you're giving a long talk, or if you're giving an important talk, if you're going to be making a sales pitch to a client, then come back here to this mind map and see what elements of this mind map you can integrate into your sales presentation. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so let's go on. Okay, the how I've already talked about. You can expand ideas, etc. All right, so let's go on to talking about the first major factors. So first, I just want to give you the overview of the mind map. Let me shrink the mind map a bit and give you the overview that there are 3 major concepts to how to make content more engaging. You basically want to make your content more useful, okay, more useful, that's what this is, more digestible, and more attractive. Now, if you just even focus on making it more useful, you will go a long way. Useful content tends to be shared widely, okay? Or if you simply focus on making your content more digestible, you will also go a long way. Or if you focus on making your content more attractive, you will also go a long way. Now, I do want to say my preference is for content to be useful first, and then secondly, digestible, and then thirdly, attractive. Does that make sense? So if you only have time to do one thing, just follow the items here in the useful category, okay? And then if you have additional time, or if you're kind of editing a book, or if you are editing your article, or editing your notes for your presentation, then you can think about how to make it more digestible. And then, now I'm not saying you should follow every single piece of advice in the useful. So if you, for example, if you're taking an hour to edit your article, then maybe take 30 minutes to look at the useful area and integrate some things to make your article more useful. And then maybe take another 20 minutes to look at the digestible area and make your article more digestible. And then finally, in the final 10 minutes, or even take another 15 minutes and look at the attractive category here on the mind map and see if you can take one of these ideas to make your article more attractive. Does that make sense? Okay, let me just let you digest that for a moment. Pauses, by the way, help content to be more digestible. So let me just give you a chance to digest that while I take a look at the comments and see if there are any other comments coming through. Thank you so much, Larry, for also chiming in and saying hello. And I see that Victoria is starting to add some of her notes to the thread, so thank you so much. All right, so let's now look at the useful category, shall we? How do you make your content more useful? Okay, so let's see here. First of all, this is actually a very important idea here at the top. Have you noticed what questions your ideal audience asks you? And by the way, who is your ideal audience? Your ideal audience is made up of your ideal clients. Well, I would say that if you are in marketing, if you are building a business, your ideal audience is made up of your ideal clients and your ideal, prospective clients. If you don't have any clients yet, then that's your ideal prospective clients, the people you think you would most love to serve and that you are most qualified to serve. Okay? If you are simply someone trying to communicate a message to the world, then your ideal audience are the people who can most use your information, the people you believe can most apply your information to make a difference in the world and in their own lives. Okay? So have you observed and noticed and even asked your ideal audience what they want you to talk about? Okay? And again, you can click the plus to get some more tips on that. Sometimes when you ask your ideal audience, hi everyone, what would you like me to talk about? That's very open-ended and people are going to have a brain freeze to not know what to say to you. Okay? Let me give you a hint about how to ask good questions. The more the question the more they can respond to you very easily and simply, the better of a question it is for engagement purposes. So if you ask a question that they can respond with a single answer, or if you ask a multiple choice question where that's easy for them to just pick a choice, that question is more likely to get responses. Do you see what I mean? But if you ask an open-ended, very broad question, it takes them energy. It takes them too much effort to respond, and so they're probably not going to respond to you. So if you want to find out what your ideal audience wants you to talk about, it's probably better to imagine what you think their problems are that you could help solve and give them a multiple choice to say, would you like me to talk about, so if I were asking you, okay, for example, I might say, hey everyone, in our highest work, which of these topics would you most want me to talk about? How to get more clients in a virtuous way. How to manage your money in an ethical and conscious manner. How to manage your emotions on a daily basis with more effectiveness. Okay, pick one of these three. Which of these three? Or how would you rank these three? For what would you? Or the fourth option, what would you fill in the blank? What would you most like me to talk about? Do you see what I mean? So it's nice to be able to give them options that you imagine are their problems or their greatest yearnings, and then give them a fourth option to say, or fill in the blank, let me know based on these or whatever comes to mind for you, what you would most want me to share with you to help you in your life. Make sense? Okay. And also start to notice what questions, as you start to share your content, notice what questions they are asking you. That's very, very helpful, because a lot of times we just simply are helpful. We just answer questions without writing down what the questions are that people are asking us. I keep a spreadsheet now of questions that I get. If I get a question that day, either through email or on Facebook, someone comments on something I wrote and asked a question, or someone on YouTube comments on my video and asks a question, I do my best at the end of each day. I actually do this at the end of each day, but I don't always, am not always disciplined to get every question down, but at least try to get at least one question that someone asked me somewhere, and I put it into a spreadsheet so I can start to at least gather all the questions. And then as I start to notice a pattern, I can rearrange the questions, or I can score certain questions like, okay, people really, really want to know about this. So as you share, start noticing any questions that come to you either in email, or as you're talking to someone in person, what questions are they asking you, or as you're sharing a video, what questions are coming through, or as you're sharing on social media, what questions are coming through. Okay, all right. Let's see, what else do I want to share? There's a bunch of ideas here in the useful category. And let me know so far, so those of you who are watching this, is this useful thus far? Let me take a quick look. Well, let me share something, and then I'll take a look at the comments again. All right, so, okay, let me actually share one more important area for being useful, and I will let you go and look at this mind map, which has another, 5 or 7 ideas that I don't have time to share in this video, because I want to keep this video fairly consumable, fairly digestible. So, in short, what you're trying to do to make content useful, what you're trying to do is to solve a problem that your ideal audience, has currently, or and they know they will soon have. And the more urgent the problem is that you're trying to help them solve, okay, so what is urgent, by the way? What is urgent? Urgent means that that problem is nagging at them, that they think about it. Maybe they think about it even at night when they're trying to sleep. They're trying to sleep and they can't sleep because they're thinking about that problem. What is it? Now, of course, that could be a lot of problems, but filter it down. Write down all the problems you think that they're having that's keeping them up at night, okay? Or that they talk to their friends and their family about, or their colleagues about. What are they complaining about? What are they complaining about about their life? What are they feeling down about their life? Okay? Or about their business, or about their relationships, or about their workplace, or about the world. Okay? And then after you write those down, what you think they're keeping up that night, or what they're talking to their friends and family about and complaining about, then you can filter out and say, well, these are, I've written down 10 questions that they're probably asking or they're bothered by. These are the 3 of these 10 are the ones I am most qualified to serve, to help them solve. Do you see what I mean? Now you are getting to what is the most useful content you can share with your ideal audience. So you're either helping them solve a problem, or you're helping them make their life easier, either by saving them some time or some money or some effort. Okay, you don't have to be saving them money. Okay, you can be saving them time, or it could be saving them effort, meaning you're gathering some important information that will help make their life easier, so that they don't have to gather it themselves. Right? So you're saving them some effort. That's one way of doing it. Also, useful information also delights them. Now, that's sort of a cross between the useful and the attractive category. But basically, as you are engaging, as you are talking with your ideal audience, you're always trying to understand how they think, what bothers them, what they're most yearning for, what they're complaining about also, and what lights them up. So in short, love your audience. The more love you have for your audience, the more you are able to create useful content. Does that make sense? I finally learned, after 6 years of marketing and building a business, I finally learned this year how to love you, all. Because I guess I came to the realization that in regards to my work, I'm now living as if I'm dying. In regards to my health, I imagine I'm going to live forever, so I take care of my body, right? But in regards to my work, my true livelihood, I live as if I'm dying. And so that has really brought a lot of love into my heart for you, to say, well, what I want to leave behind is hopefully good thoughts that you have about me, but more importantly, that I can improve your life. So I'm doing my very best to give you the best information that I can find out there, and to do it in as digestible and attractive way as I can. And of course, I'm learning all the time how to make my information more useful, more digestible, more attractive. So there's lots of other items here in the useful category that I'm not sharing with you in detail. You can look at the mind map, things like analyzing your niche mate's content, things like giving examples, things like sharing quotes or noticing trends and sharing relevant statistics and all that other stuff. Okay, so just look at the mind map. Again, the mind map is at www.ourhighestwork.com/20, and then go to one of the pages, basically one of the video pages, and you'll be able to find the mind map there, the link to the full mind map. Okay. All right. The second category that I want to talk about now is how to make your content more digestible. Digestible. If your content is not digestible, okay, people are going to find it overwhelming, and they will either say, "Oh, this is too overwhelming. I'm not going to look at this, okay, right now." Or what they're gonna do is they might even just bookmark it for later consumption. And you know as well as I do that when we bookmark something, chances are we're not going to get back to it. Do you see what I mean? The internet does not stop and pause for your ideal audience to one day go back to their bookmarks and go, "Oh yeah, that's right. I checked out this I bookmarked this content before. Now I'm going to look at it." Okay? The internet doesn't stop. They're going to keep getting emails about wonderful new content. They're going to keep seeing Facebook postings. They're going to keep seeing things on Twitter or whatever. Friends are going to tell them, "Check this out, check that out." So the more digestible you can make your content, the more likely they're going to digest it. They're going at least start to digest it. Even if they start to read your article and they go, "This is amazing," they're more likely to go back to it. But if your content is truly digestible, they're probably going to drop whatever they're doing and actually read your article right then and there. Or they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, this video is so good. I just have to watch this right now, and I'm going to take care of my other thing that I was taking care of later." Do you see what I mean? So that's what digestible means. And before I continue on, I'm just so curious about what comments are coming through. And I do see that Vicky and Victoria and Barbara are both commenting, and so much gratitude I have. Thank you so much. I know some of you are watching and not able to comment. I'm grateful for you as well for being here. Thanks. So let's go on now to talking about just a few of these digestible elements. By the way, I didn't even see what they wrote. Thank you so much, Barbara, for your specific comment there, and thank you, Victoria, for saying that the mind map is useful. Okay, all right. Let me just do a quick refresh. Thanks so much. All right. Let me go on now to digestible. All right. So basically, in digestible, or in the category of making your content digestible, one of the most important things is to be clear about why they should digest the content. Do you notice how in every episode, if you just go back and listen or watch the episodes, I have a certain format of the episode. I'll just give you very simply. I always, before I share the body of the content that I want to share with you in each episode, I always give the context of why what I'm going to say is important today. You see, did you notice that? Well, maybe now you'll start to notice that. So share why, because this is important. The why is obvious to you, but it's not that obvious to your ideal audience. This is one of the the difficulties of being a teacher, of being a content creator, is that the stuff is in your head, right? You know the stuff, and so you think that other people must know the stuff too. It's very hard for us to imagine what someone else is thinking. We only know what we're thinking, and we think we know this is important, so why don't other people think it's important too? No, no, no. You don't know what other people are thinking until you, of course, get to know what they're thinking, right? Chances are they don't know the power of your content. They don't know why. So you've got to get to know your ideal audience at least just a bit to know how to communicate the why. And this is really true for longer pieces of content, for articles, for podcast episodes, for videos, for books. Okay? When you're sharing something short, you don't have to say why. You know, it's short. They could just see it. They can determine immediately whether it's useful for them. But if it's longer, then you do need to spend or a sales page, all right, a website, right? You do need to spend just a little bit of time saying why it's important to them so that they'll actually go ahead and consume the rest of that content. But it also, so how do you share why? Well, share the benefits of the content for them, share why it's important in the world maybe, or even share the end results of consuming that content. Actually, benefits and end results are kind of the same thing. Sorry about that. All right, what else about Digestible? Stories. Okay, stories are really, really important. Now, I'll tell you that my area of development is that I need to share more stories. I tend to be very conceptual. I talk about ideas. I love talking about ideas. I even love talking about practical steps. But what I'm not so good at yet is remembering, writing down, and sharing stories so that you all will learn better. Human beings have evolved over millennia to have a brain that really notices stories. We have a brain that tends to notice drama, which is why the most popular culture, pop culture, movies, celebrities' lifestyles, whatever, it's all drama. It's because our human brains have evolved over millennia to notice drama. Why? Well, there's a whole evolutionary reason for that, but just know this, that the ideal audience that you're talking to are human, and the human brains loves drama. So that's what stories are. Stories are basically, and the story doesn't have to be long. A story can be told in 1 minute. I'll give you a quick example. I'll just use the name Susan. Okay, Susan left her house that day and noticed that the sky was different. It was much darker than usual, and she felt that something wasn't quite right. As she went along, she realized that it was because she was wearing her sunglasses. And she had put them on automatically without noticing it. So she took them off, and suddenly the sky was bluer, it was brighter, and her mood immediately shifted. She went on with her day, and she told that funny instance to her friends, and they laughed. Okay, I just told you a story. It was 1 minute long. But notice the arc of the story is that stories start with, usually good stories, okay? They start with giving you the scene, setting the scene. I just very simply told you that Susan stepped outside her home that morning. Okay, so I set the scene. And I mentioned a particular person, so you can start to imagine someone, okay? I imagined someone, I set the scene, and then I immediately brought in a struggle, a problem. So that's part of the story arc, is setting the scene and then the problem, the struggle, the danger, okay? And then it's basically the hero's journey. There's a danger, there's a problem, and then there's somehow a resolution. There's a journey that happens that helps resolve the danger, solve the problem, overcome the struggle, and then there's a resolve, like, okay, there's a happy ending, or there's like what happened afterwards. Okay, that wasn't a very clean way of sharing with you the story arc, but that's basically what it is. Okay? So if you can add in a story into your content, it will make your content much more memorable and understandable and powerful and emotional. Okay? So I have other areas of Digestible that I'll let you check out later. There's learning to talk about myths and then bringing that to truth. There's how to categorize your ideas. There's different modes of sharing. Okay, so I'll let you take a look at this later. Finally, let me share with you the attractive category of making your content more engaging. And here I have something like 10 or more ideas. Okay, things like, adventure, or noticing what you're enjoying, or is it funny, is it vulnerable, blah 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 blah. But let me just share with you a couple of them. One is title and subtitle. Okay. If you okay, this is particularly a longer piece of content, an article, a book, a podcast episode, a video. Okay, those all a title of a talk. The title and if there is a subtitle, a room for subtitle, are so important, because if your ideal audience isn't engaged by the title and subtitle, you're going to lose a lot of people. But if they're engaged by the title and subtitle, they will want to go further and check out the content, and they might even, get this, and I've done this myself, I have recommended books to people in the past. I've matured a bit more than that, but in the past, I used to recommend books to people just when I saw a title of a book that sounds so good. I'm like, hey, John, you got to check out this book. I think you'll find it useful. To see how powerful titles are, okay? So, but when you're sharing a shorter, and by the way, titles could even be a long status update on Facebook. If you're going to share a long status update, you might want to put a title at the top, or a long Google Plus posting. Put a title at the top that's relevant and that's also interesting. Now, there are a lot of, if you go to google.com and search how to write a good title, you'll find tons of great articles about this. So I don't have a lot of additional resources on this particular subject. I do have one that I shared with you here, but I'll add more as I find really good articles about how to write good titles. I'll add more, okay? But one way to notice how to write a good title is basically notice what titles attract you, and start to notice a pattern. Okay, what is it about these titles that attract me? And then emulate that, okay? All right, so let me go to one more idea about attractive, and that's questions, preferably simple ones. Actually, I think I already shared this earlier. If you can add a question to your content, you're going to be much more likely to get engagement. But your question has to be either a provocative question or a simple question, or both. Okay, a provocative meaning like a controversial question, like you ask a question that you know some of your ideal audience members will have a strong opinion on. That's what I mean by provocative. And a simple question is something like, folks, hi everyone, how would you say marketing is? Okay, now I'm trying to come up with a simple question, but it's basically something where people can come up with a one-word answer or a short answer. Okay, you will notice as you're surfing Facebook and whatever, you'll notice that some questions get a lot of comments, and then some. Actually, if you're just watching the Facebook newsfeed has an algorithm that naturally floats to the top what they believe the content are that are most interesting. So notice as you're surfing Facebook, as you're checking out Google Plus or whatever, notice which ones come to the top and which ones have the most comments. And the questions that you see are probably pretty good questions. So there are probably another 7 to 10 other ideas here in attractive that I haven't explained to you. So I will let you go and dig into this. Click the pluses to look at all the different ideas I want to share with you there. So finally, I want to encourage you to share this mind map. I worked hard on this mind map. So you probably know someone in your life who can benefit from this mind map. Maybe you are willing to share it on social media. I hope so. This is nothing too controversial. In fact, I think your audience will find it very helpful. So if you want to share it on social media, just click the plus. I actually give you specific links to click on. So if you click on here, for example, you'll automatically be given a status update that includes this link, okay? And then you can just share it on social media right there. Type something. This mind map was really helpful, I found, and I hope you all find it helpful too. And then click share link, and that's how you can help spread the word about this. Really appreciate your presence, and let me stop my screen for a moment. Thank you so much for being with me today, those of you who were able to be live, and those of you listening. I wish you a wonderful day forward. Until the next episode, keep your thoughts positive, keep your heart open, and be well. See you next time.